Hello and welcome back to the channel. Today it's time for my monthly Q&A video. So I did a frequently asked questions video last month and asked for some more questions. I love doing these monthly Q&A videos, so please keep those questions coming. If you would like to ask a question for the next video, just leave a comment below with your question and I will add it to the list. I've been printing these out. I don't use paper much anymore, I don't feel like, but I do print these questions out and I think about them quite a bit. And I'm going to read the first one now from Lara. And hopefully I pronounced that correctly. Hi Dave, would love to know what the best deal you've ever gotten when buying physical media. What was the best deal that I've ever gotten buying physical media? And I will say that I really look for deals all year round, and some of my best deals have come during the 50% off sale for Criterion releases. I've really saved a lot there. And those happen, I think there's usually a flash sale during the year, at least one, and then there's a couple of Barnes & Noble sales. So those are some of the best deals that I've gotten. But I did pick one out in particular, and that is during the Criterion sale a few years ago, my wife actually found this release of The Life Aquatic as a DVD. And you can see we've left this sealed with the price tag on it. And this was also during a 50% off sale, so we got it for half of $6.99, which I thought was amazing. I was so happy that she found this, and we've really kept it sealed for that reason because I have this on Blu-ray and we're going to be watching the Blu-ray version of it. But I've kept this and it's part of my Criterion collection, and it's probably the best deal that I think I've ever gotten. As much as I'm looking for deals and looking for discounts on movies, I always like to look for discounts because it allows me to add a little bit more to my collection. I'd rather pay a little bit less and have another movie. So I look for those deals all year round. That's a great question. Part two of that question also was, have you ever had to move your collection when you moved houses? Of course, yes, I have. And I've moved my collection a few times. Sometimes I've had to sell off part of my collection when I've moved. I can remember one time in particular where I was moving fairly close. This is many, many years ago at a certain location. And I had mostly VHS tapes, had a lot of VHS tapes. And I remember not having a container to move them in, and I just put them all in the back of a car to move them a couple of miles up the road, basically where I was moving to. So I remember that specifically. I also moved across the country a few years ago and had to pack up the remaining items in my collection, most of which were Blu-rays and some DVDs and a little bit of VHS as well. And those moved across the country and very successfully. I don't think anything was really damaged there. But I also had to sell off part of my collection during that move and decided to trade in some DVDs and upgrade those when I got to the new location, which is this location here. So I'm sure it's going to be a huge project because I've added so much to my collection over the last few years. So if I have to move again, it's going to be quite an ordeal. But that's a great question. I'm sure many collectors have had to go through this a couple of different times. I, of course, want to be very careful with my collection if I ever have to move it. But that's a great question. This next question comes from Old Man PJ, and it is, what is the first movie you can remember seeing in a theater? I really gave this one a lot of thought, and because I don't think I went to the theater much as a kid, and I can only remember really watching TV shows and maybe a few movies at home. But I do remember, and you'll probably know this from the channel, that the first movie I remember seeing is the movie Jaws, which is one of my favorite all-time movies. And I remember seeing that in the theater in 1975, and I'm sure I saw it a couple of times over the summer. And that's my first movie experience, I believe, in the theater, of seeing that movie. And it really kind of shaped my movie watching. And I've obviously watched a lot more movies since then, but I really enjoyed that particular experience with my family. Every time I talk about Jaws, too, I usually pull out the 4K or a Blu-ray or the DVD even, but I decided on this time, I think I've only shown this one other time in a video. This is the LaserDisc edition of Jaws. I have many copies of Jaws since it is my favorite movie, and turns out one of the first movies, if not the first movie I saw in the theater, so this is the LaserDisc edition. I don't even have a LaserDisc player anymore, but I love this edition, which has a copy of the novel in it in pretty pristine condition, as well as the soundtrack for the film, some photographs, etc. I will link that video too of my full Jaws collection in the description below, so you can see everything that's in that collection. But that is a great question, and I really gave that one a lot of thought and tried to think if there was another movie that I saw in the theater, and I really don't think I did. So I must have been probably about 10 or 11 when I saw that when I saw the movie Jaws. The next question is from Chris. Do you loan films to friends? I don't. I was really thinking about this one as well. I don't think I have loaned specific films to friends unless I know them really well. Sometimes, maybe we've all seen, if you loan something out to someone, sometimes they don't give it back. And I love my film collection, so unless I really know someone, if they're a really good friend, and I trust that they're going to give something back, I don't usually loan out, any of my collection. Many people that I know are collectors and film lovers, and they have their own collection. So sometimes we don't really need to loan anything out. But I briefly thought about over the course of the last couple of years, really built up my movie collection, and I've thought about, it's almost like a library here too. So I live in an apartment complex, and I thought, well, if my neighbors wanted to see a movie, they could come in and select a movie, but I'm not sure that would work out so well, so I haven't really followed through with that. But that's a great question, and generally, no, I don't usually loan films out to friends. This last question is from Dan, and it's a two-parter. What is one horror movie monster or killer that is used too much, and which one is not used enough or incorrectly? Now this one, I'm not sure, Dan, if I'm going to answer this one correctly, but please feel free to rephrase your question or ask me to clarify in the comments below, and I'll see if I can do a better job next time. But the way I thought about it is something like, I'll use Frankenstein as an example. So this is the Universal Frankenstein film set, and there's the back of that one as well. I've talked about this in a vlog style video where I watched all these movies. I will say Frankenstein probably is one of those iconic characters that is used a lot in the movies. It's not just this Universal set, but there's many other films related to Frankenstein or featuring Frankenstein. So I'm not sure that it's necessarily a bad thing, but clearly there's a lot of movies about Frankenstein. So I think, I don't know that I would say that Frankenstein as a character, Frankenstein's monster anyway, is used too much. I think even some of these films, you don't see Frankenstein's monster till the end of the movie or the middle of the movie, and maybe not even enough during that particular film. I think the same can be said about Dracula as an example. There's a lot of Dracula movies. Is that a bad thing? I don't think so. I love Dracula. I love Frankenstein. I could see many more movies with those two characters in them. So are they used too much? Yes, probably. But is it incorrectly? I would say no. Like I said, I would love to see more. I think in the case of the Wolfman as an example, maybe not as many movies about werewolves. Again, could be wrong. There's a lot of movies about werewolves, An American Werewolf in London, a lot of TV series related to werewolves and things like that. Maybe not a lot, but there are some. But for me anyway, the Wolfman there's not as many movies as there are maybe with Frankenstein and Dracula. I haven't done a full count on that, so I could be totally wrong, but that's just my feeling anyway. Would I say that that the Wolfman is not used enough or incorrectly? I don't think so. I think if there is a lot of interest in Wolfman type movies, then they're made, right? So hopefully I answered that correctly, Dan, if I got that question right, but please feel free to clarify in the comments below, and I'll try to answer it a little bit better next time. That was just my impression. I guess I haven't really been thinking too much about if horror movie monsters are used too much or not enough. I haven't really thought about that, but that's, again, a great question, and I would love to clarify that if you can add a little bit more detail maybe in the comment section below. Speaking of that too, if you have a question for next month's video, let me know in the comment section below, and those will go on a list for the October video. I love doing these videos, love answering questions. I try to answer also as many questions and comments that I can on the videos. So feel free to leave me those. I love to interact, love to keep the conversation moving in the comment section below. So thanks so much for watching this video. I really do appreciate it. If you have not subscribed to my channel, please do subscribe. That would be awesome. I sincerely hope everyone is safe and well, and I'll talk to you soon.